Okay, I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Villa Park Board of Trustees. Today's April 9th at 7 p.m. Clerk Kornecki, please call the roll.
Yes, Trustee Aiello. Trustee Kazone.
Here.
Trustee Case.
Here.
Trustee Tucker. Here. Trustee Wagner.
Here.
Trustee Silella.
Here.
President Bolfus.
Here. Please rise for the pledge, and after that, please remain standing for a short prayer. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Wagner has a prayer for us tonight.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that might affect the residents, staff, businesses, surrounding communities, and all those that enter the village of Villa Park. And continue to remind us that all we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Third item on the agenda is public comments on agenda items. Clerk Kornecki, do we have anybody signed up?
Not for agenda items. I have no one.
Okay. Anybody that hasn't signed up, had any questions or comments on agenda items? Okay. Please come up to the microphone, state your name, please. There'll be an item number that's actually on the agenda, item 5 through 12.
Hi, sorry, I haven't looked at the agenda.
Okay. What do you have?
My name is Bill Conroy. I was just checking to see if there's any progress on what the plan is for this space at Lufkin.
Okay.
It's non-agenda.
It's on, we'll take that up at the end of the
Okay.
meeting. Okay. All right, with that, we'll go down to amendments to the agenda. Does anybody on the board have any amendments? Seeing none, we'll move down to the consent agenda. Consent agenda A is minutes from the board meeting of March 26, 2018. Bill listing for the week of March 26, 2018 for a total amount of $123,031.91. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda? Trustee Case?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second? Trustee Tucker?
Yes, I will second.
Any questions or comments? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Kazone.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Silella.
Yes.
Trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee Tucker.
Yes.
President Bolfus.
Yes. Item number 6, first reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, amending the Villa Park Municipal Code to reflect the change in the fiscal year. Manager Keenan.
Thank you, Your Honor. The village is changing its fiscal year from May to April every year to January through December in order to improve communication and financial planning. To make this transition, we are adopting an 8-month budget from May 2018 through December 2018, and will implement our first calendar year budget in January 2019. This change requires an amendment to the village's code. Thank you, Your Honor.
This being a code change, we don't need a motion. This is just for discussion. So any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none. Okay, we'll move on to item number 7. First reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, adopting an 8-month budget for all corporate purposes in lieu of the annual appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year commencing May 1st, 2018, and ending on December 31st, 2018. Manager Keenan.
Thank you, Your Honor. The village's stub year 2018 budget ordinance provides for the continued provision of village services as well as significant capital investment as discussed during the village's budget workshop held on March 19th, 2018. The budget covers the 8-month period from May 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2018. This is the first reading of the budget ordinance with ordinance adoption planned for April 23rd, 2018. Thank you, Your Honor.
And this not being a code change, we'd have a motion, please.
President Boltus,
Trustee Wagner?
I'd like to make that motion.
Do I have a second? Trustee Cielo? Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, this will be back on our next meeting. Roll call vote, please.
Okay, Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
President Bolus?
Yes. Okay, item 8, first reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, allowing charitable games in compliance with the Charitable Game Act. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Villa Park Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 2801, also known as the VFW, is requesting a revision to Village Code to allow participation in a round-robin style poker tournament hosted through Rockford Charitable Games Winning Charity Services, Inc. The Charitable Games Act allows certain qualified organizations to obtain a license from the Illinois Department of Revenue to conduct charitable games unless expressly prohibited by the municipality. The proposed ordinance amends Village Code to allow qualified organizations to obtain a state license and conduct or rent its premises for other charitable games. Thank you, Your Honor.
And this is a change to our code, so we don't need a motion for that. Does anybody on the board have any questions or comments on this? Trustee Tucker?
I have actually several.
Okay.
I need clarification what the 13-1903, the Code of Games, what exactly does that state? Is that for the organization itself or for the facility that's running renting out their facility to do that?
That section basically just allows charitable games and lays out what the requirements are for them to have charitable games. That they have to have a state license. That's all it does. It just basically allows that to operate in the village.
Well, according to 13-1903, it states that they shall hold charitable game nights more than 4 days with one each quarter of the calendar year. Does that mean the organization can do that, or the rental facility, the premise is in line with that? The other question is, it goes on to say, conducting by another eligible charitable organization of more than 12 charitable game nights includes these games with not more than 3 days per quarter. It's very confusing to me. Are we talking about the premises, the person, or several organizations, nonprofit organizations can do this on this certain rental area?
I don't think we'll let the guy who wrote the ordinance here.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, I did put some of those requirements in the ordinance, if you noticed. It is actually a combination of the premises and the operator. I mean, they consider it a singular entity. They have the right to either hold the game or they can rent their establishment. But there are restrictions about renting, as you saw, that I also included in the ordinance. So if they
Correct.
don't hold it, they can rent it to another not-for-profit who would have to qualify, obtain a license. But there are licenses for the owner-operator, and there's the owner and the premise and the not-for-profit. And then there's also a license for the operator if you have a third-party operator coming in, which is what the
Which would be on the
VFW
rental, the third property operator.
Right,
is what
well,
you're
the
speaking of?
rental would be, it could be another not-for-profit. The person who would come in with the equipment and the machinery or whatever kind of events they're gonna have, they also have to have a license. So there's a license for the not-for-profit and the premises, and there's another license for the person who comes in and brings in the gambling equipment.
Okay, so on structure of this, how many times can that facility actually have a gaming night in their facility?
12. You get
12
12 a year.
times. So 12 times they could have a charitable gaming event in their building.
Correct, and it either is their event or they can lease it to another not-for-profit that would qualify.
Okay,
But they also require those to be, as you saw, I have it in the ordinance, to be split on a quarterly basis. So each quarter you only get 3, so you can't do it, month after month, you actually have to split it by the quarter.
okay, so they can have, basically speaking of the premise, they can have 3 in the quarter,
3 in the quarter,
12 in the year.
12 in a year,
And it can be with different organizations? So
Correct.
we're speaking of, they're requesting for one organization tonight.
The
So if
VFW
another
can-
organization came in and requested to rent their facility, that would be also under those 12 and 3
That's correct.
stipulations?
Right, yeah. It doesn't matter whether they hold it or whether they would lease it to another qualified not-for-profit. You only get 12, you got to divide it into 3 per quarter.
The other question I had for you, which is probably the one that you'll have to answer, is, if we amend this ordinance, does that open it up to any licensed liquor business in Villa Park to be able to do the same thing?
It would open it up to any not-for-profit that qualifies under the state, which the VFW are, let's assume it'd be a different not-for-profit, that meets those requirements and gets a state license and has a liquor license, it would open up for those two.
Okay, so we're only speaking of nonprofit organizations that could do this,
Yeah,
not businesses in Villa Park that offer nonprofit fundraisers at their
That's a
facilities.
requirement by the state.
that's
too.
a state requirement, yeah, that, which
Okay.
is incorporated in our.
So my
requirements.
understanding is we're only speaking of nonprofits to be, nonprofit organizations that have a facility to be able, for this ordinance?
Yes, and have a liquor license.
And have, well, yeah, and have a
And a
liquor
state
license.
license.
Okay. Well, the state isn't us. I know they're required by state to do it though.
Right.
And,
It's a separate license.
correct. And qualified, the last thing is the qualified organizations under this are only nonprofit organizations?
Correct. There's
Okay.
different types of
Per
nonprofits.
state.
But per the state, correct.
regulations,
Yes.
this ordinance only applies to nonprofit organizations that the state has licensed.
Correct. And
Okay.
then that's in the ordinance too, that it's nonprofit organizations possessing the required state license and meeting the requirements and regulations of the Charitable Games Act. The Charitable Games Act has even some additional requirements. There's taxes and other things that have to be paid.
Correct, but it only applies to nonprofit organizations per the state guidelines.
Correct. And those are
Okay.
adopted by us.
Trustee Wagner?
That answered some of my questions, but this license that we're granting them, is this going to benefit the VFW specifically? I know that other organizations could participate at some point, but is the intent here to benefit the VFW?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's all I had.
Anyone else? Okay, roll call vote. Well, we don't need a roll call, we
No.
didn't have a motion. Okay, so we'll, this will come back on the 29th for an actual formal vote. But we could get a sense, I guess, right? Can we get a sense of the board of trustees, how they feel? or-
Yeah.
Yep,
Seeing we do have representatives of VFW here, I
Yeah.
would like to hear their version of why they want to do this.
sure, sure. Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. President and board members. My name is Rick Schwartner. I'm the commander of Post 2801 in Villa Park at the VFW. I'd like to also introduce Mr. John Ruggiero. He's a CPA and he's a full member of the auxiliary at Post 2801 and has been quite helpful to our post in, with regards to a very large number of issues where his CPA expertise comes in. I'll be happy to answer any questions that any board members and Mr. President that you have. You've covered pretty much the intent of this, which is specifically to benefit the post here in Villa Park. And what we try to do is to benefit our entire community here. And, you know, we have a threefold purpose in providing not only assistance to veterans, but to veterans' families, and also to the veterans' community, which Villa Park is the community that we see that as being this is what our objectives are, and you will see that we work hand in hand with this village for many, many years to do just that, and we are very grateful to this village for all the support that you have given us in the past to help us to provide that assistance to these veterans and to the veterans community. So with that said, I'll stand here for any questions that any board members, or if you have any, Mr. President, that I could answer for you. So Rockford Charities, though, is a well-established provider of these services where they bring their own equipment, the people, and everything else. And the benefit that we get from this is that 3 times a year, we are the named beneficiary of this as a recognized charity by Rockford. Then they also, the other 9 times, it would be other charities such as Make-A-Wish and other valid charities. But in addition to that, where these other charities, and we're hoping maybe a number of these in our town would do that. With that said, we will also derive on those days, there's only 12 a year, but on those other 9 occasions, we would have rental income from sale of food and things like this, because it would bring some people in. So with that said, we will benefit from all 12 occasions where these events are being held. And
Let me add something also. The collateral benefit to the rest of the community. In the 12 times a year when we have other charities come in and utilize our facilities, they're going to be here for a total of about 10 hours each time per month that they're going to be here. And so the result of that is that they're not always going to stay there. They're going to shop in the local community, they're going to visit other local businesses, and preferably spend the money there. So there's some collateral benefit from all of this, bringing outside charities into Villa Park. So we just wanted to, kind of, Attorney Benninger, you did a good job. My compliments to you in explaining the ordinance and the change that you want. Any questions for us?
Trustee
Yes.
Case.
How are you guys doing with other charities being lined up already?
Very well.
Good.
Make-A-Wish is just one of them, but we have charities all in this area, from Elk Grove Village that want to come in here, and from the city of Chicago that want to come in here and utilize. And Rockford Charities, the organizer of this, is the one that brings in all these other not-for-profits for us.
Great idea.
Any other questions?
Being
Go
the
ahead.
the-
Trustee Kazal.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The organizations that you'll benefit, say Make-A-Wish, do you require them like to bring in their people to help at all, or?
No. Rockford Charities brings in, as Commander Schwartner said, brings in the entire facility. They bring in their people that are bonded. They bring in their security, their cameras, and so forth. They're just simply utilizing our facility and some of our employees to help with food and so forth. But everything is done by them. And so when another charity comes in, it's still under the auspices of Rockford Charities. And then at the end of the night, when profits are split, so much is kept by Rockford Charities and so much is given to the not-for-profit that utilize our space. But those personnel that are here, those people that are coming and gambling, if you will, they're also spending time in the community and so forth, in the Jewel and everything up on St. Charles Road.
Trustee Tucker.
Yes, so if I understand you correctly, you're just supplying the building itself.
Correct.
They're bringing in everything else
Correct.
for responsibility and legal purposes. They're, the building, it's use of your facility and you get the
We enter
profits
into
for
a
them.
rental agreement with them, they're renting our facility, just no
Okay.
different than someone who rented our facility for a wedding. Very similar.
But your building will be open for other facilities, from what I'm understanding, at the same time this is going on? Okay, so they're aware of the code violation and will be aware of a number that they can bring in? Because it sounds like they could bring in a mass amount of people moving back and forth.
Well, they are aware of, in terms of capacity of our large room that will be held in our Oak Room, which is our large room. They are aware of the capacity of that. They've come out, they've looked at measurements of the room, so they are fully aware of that. But it is open 1 day per month for this event for a period of about 10 hours. So people are coming in and out. They're not all there at the same time. So it's a moving venue, as it were. People don't come and stay there for the entire 10 hours. They come and they gamble for 3 or 4 hours, then they leave and spend time in the community, and then go home, and then other people are coming in. So it's more of a flow that's coming through, if I can explain it that way. Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the information you gave me when we first decided to, do this. Appreciate that. I appreciate the VFW in Villa Park, too.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So,
Mr. President, if I may, I just have one additional thing I want to bring to the attention of you and the board, that we want to cordially invite each and every one of you to attend the grand opening, which Elisa from Chamber of Commerce and all these are going to participate in the ribbon cutting ceremony, but we're going to open the outside seating for the disabled veterans. And so we would very much appreciate if the board members, or Mr. President, if you could, to come by and enjoy. We will have a band and we will feed you and we will try to make it as pleasant as possible. And if God makes it as pleasant as possible, and it doesn't snow in the middle of April anymore, that this coming Saturday, but at 11 o'clock in the morning, and we'll have the ribbon cutting ceremony just thereafter. It can never be to the second, but we would very much appreciate if you could attend, because you are partners with that VFW, and we appreciate you a great deal. So with that said, thank you, sir, and thank you, board. So,
see you on Saturday.
yes, sir.
Well, hearing no strong objections, we'll move this on to the next board meeting. So, okay, we'll move on to item number 9, which is first reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, amending the fees for emergency medical transportation and related services. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. The village charges residents and non-residents a fee for emergency medical services provided to them. The fees collected help offset expenses incurred for providing advanced and basic life support emergency services to residents and visitors to Villa Park. These fees were last increased in October 2015 and are no longer comparable to neighboring communities. Thank you, Your Honor.
Again, this is a code change, so there's no motion. This is just for discussion. So if anyone has any questions or comments, now's the time. Trustee Sala.
What kind of percentage are we looking at is the increase?
Percentage of increase.
It's a $5 amount.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. The proposed changes would be that the base for the resident would be $700 for the basic life service. ALS level 1 would be $800, and then ALS 2 would be $1,050. And when you take a look at the averages, that there was a study conducted by Naperville. We're right in the averages of the communities that they surveyed. For non-resident, the proposal is the BLS would be $1,050, ALS 1 would be $1,200, and then ALS 2 would be $1,400. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Wagner.
Yeah, just a question. What makes the difference between ALS 1 and ALS 2?
Let the chief do that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Here he comes. Our Chief Kosnick is going to be answering that. I think I know, but I'll let the chief answer that. So,
What do you think it is, Al?
the levels of how much care they need. So,
Well, if you got ALS 1, it would be like an IV and cardiac monitor. ALS 2 would be when they intubate, put a tube into your lungs, a little more evasive work to be done.
and the basic life support.
Basic was just no IV, no cardiac monitor, basically Band-Aid, that type of thing.
Thank you.
Very, very basic.
I have a question. Is this is more, I see we have an estimate annual change of about $68,000. Has that been already added into our stub year budget, or is that going to be in addition to the W budget?
Your Honor, that'll be in addition to the W budget.
Do you have any place where that money's going to go?
Yes, we do, Your Honor.
Where's it going to go?
Public safety pensions, Your Honor.
Okay, good. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Just for the fire, or just we're going to split it up?
Wherever you'd like it to go, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, that's where I was heading, so, okay. So here, seeing no objections, we have trustee Wagner.
I have a question, and I'm digressing a little bit, but in situations where we have car crashes, and you have let's say, gas tank is ruptured, and you require some sort of control of the situation, how do we bill for those types of situations as well?
It's a good question, but as of right now, we don't bill for that at all. It's just a practice that we do.
Because I know other communities do that.
We could do that, yeah.
They
we
bill
could.
the insurance carrier, or, I mean, if there's extraordinary measures are taken to control the situation, if there's a fuel spill or something else like that. I know other communities do that.
It's something that we don't do right now. We don't charge for a house fire. We don't. We just
No,
don't do
I
it.
realize, yeah.
So just
But-
strictly, we could, but it's more of a administrative thing and take more time. And doesn't happen that often, but it does happen, and we could do it.
Okay. Just a question, that's all I had. Thank you.
Trustee Tucker?
This is an outside company that handles this billing system, correct? For medical, non-medical, for
Yes.
people that don't have insurance and other ways, it would be not burdening our staff on doing it. It's another
Correct.
company that actually does this.
They do the non-payment follow-up and all that stuff.
All that stuff, it's another company that handles
Yes.
that, right? Okay. It's just a line item basically on how they decide what they used, as he said, by the charge of it then, on the line item where it is. Is basic life support if they just transfer them to a hospital?
I would guess, it's just a Band-Aid, I would guess.
If you come
if you
for
transport 'em.
Vance and you're just transporting them due to a situation, is that considered just basic life support?
It'd be a BLS call and be a charge of,
Yeah.
in this case, $700.
Okay, that's what I want to know. It would be a basic call that, you
There's
have.
nothing
Because we have a
done-
lot of elderly residents in here, so I just kind of wanted to know what the guideline is that
There's
someone
no
will get.
IV, no cardiac
Right.
monitor, no medications administered. It would be a basic life
It would
support.
be just basic life support, because they're in a situation that looks like they,
When it gets evasive, IV and that type of thing, then
it goes up,
Something.
correct, but just basic calls, because a lot of them, like they fall or something basic and they need transportation,
Now,
that would be a
there's
basic.
a lot of invalid assists, as we call them, where we go, somebody falls out of bed, put them back in the bed. There's no fee there.
Okay. It just,
Only if we
it comes in effect is when you actually need to transport them
Yeah.
due to the situation. Okay.
Don't go anywhere.
And for the seniors, it's not this fee, it's whatever Medicare pays.
Oh, I understand that, but
Okay.
online,
I wanna get
when he
seniors
wrote the
saved
Medicare thing,
$700.
I got
The
that.
Medicare fee, I think, is like $430.
Something like that, yeah.
Well, they kind of tell you what they're gonna pay, and that's it.
And that's it, and that's what you have to do.
Right.
You work with that, but I
Trustee
just kind of
Case.
want to know.
I know it's all different situations, life-threatening, whatever, but say you have a preference hospital you want to go to. What's the added cost to that?
We transport to certain hospitals. We go to Elmhurst, Good Sam. If it's a trauma call, we go to Loyola. If
You always
it's
go
a-
to the closest one.
Typically, it's the closest one. We contact medical control, which would be the closest facility. In our case, most of the time, it's Elmhurst. And we may have to ask to go to Good Sam, and they may or may not let us do that, depending on how bad the patient is.
Yeah.
Now, on occasion, we'll take if it's an infant, to Central DuPage. We've
Right.
done that in the past, too. Because by the time we call for a private ambulance, there's a lot of time wasted. Or a burn patient, Loyola. Hyperbaric chamber would be Lutheran General.
One other question for
Sure.
you. I saw something on the news this morning about those safe haven things at the fire departments.
Yeah. We've got a safe haven sign. We don't have a safe haven box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that in consideration?
The box?
Yeah.
No, but we've done Safe Haven. When I was, my previous employment, we had a couple babies dropped off.
No, I'm just saying how they have that,
Yeah, we don't have the box, we don't have that, we could sure do that, but we
Well,
don't
I
have
think
it.
they have the box because it's not manned 24 hours. There's a.
But as soon as that box is open, it
Open,
beeps
alarm
and sends
goes
an
off.
alarm
Alarm
to
goes
the,
off.
to the, either the fire department or police department.
Yeah,
yeah,
And,
and you have
just-
somebody there all the time,
Yeah.
pretty much.
So they ring a doorbell.
okay,
Yeah. In that case, in Indiana, just having, it's a volunteer organization.
Right.
right. I'm done with you.
Okay. If nothing else, we'll move on to item number 10. Okay. First reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, amending the parking restrictions on Ellsworth Avenue, Sidney Court, and Adele Court. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. Many traffic violations, including incidents of reckless driving, occur in the area of Ellsworth and North Avenue during the late hours of the day and into the night on weekends due to crowds that accumulate at Strat's Restaurant. Pedestrian safety is also compromised due to the overflow parking of Strat's taking place on the streets north of North Avenue, as pedestrians have been known to cross 6 lanes of traffic where there are no traffic standards for pedestrians present. Prohibiting parking on Ellsworth Avenue, Sidney Court, and Adele Court between the hours of 7 p.m. and 2 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays will help reduce the amount of vehicular and pedestrian traffic in this area, thereby allowing for safer conditions to exist. To implement the change is an amendment to Villa Park Municipal Code Section 14-207C. No parking zones is necessary. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Again, this is a code change, so we don't need a motion, so it's just for discussion. Any questions or comments from the board? Trustee Tucker?
I did not see any of the minutes on the safety and traffic, their discussion on if there was any suggestions
There
that they
wasn't.
brought up.
Trustee
Board?
Wagner?
This was discussed at the Traffic and Safety Commission, and they passed on the recommendation at their last meeting, I believe. But I don't think their meeting minutes have been approved yet.
Have you seen them?
Yeah.
I haven't seen them for the 13th or the last one, so I don't know if the discussion was.
The
or
manager's
the
looking for 'em right now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a note from the chairperson in the, that's attachment.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, there are minutes. They're dated March 19th. It's recommendation to the village board. Your Honor, would you like me to read everything into the?
Please,
Thank you.
read it into the record.
The traffic and safety item number 855, parking restrictions on Ellsworth Avenue, Adele Court, and Sidney Court. The commission reviewed the request from the police department to change the parking restrictions on Ellsworth Avenue from North Avenue to Armitage Avenue, the 200 block of East Adele Court, and the 200 block of East Sidney Court. The proposed parking restrictions would be no parking Friday and Saturday from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. This request is due to the increase of people patronizing Strat's Restaurant on North Avenue. Strat's parking lot on these nights are at capacity and parking is overflowing onto Ellsworth, Adele, and Sidney. Some of the people that parked on these streets have been observed littering, driving recklessly on the streets and in business parking lots, and as they cross North Avenue, impeding the traffic flow of North Avenue. The police department on the weekends has been devoting increased resources to maintain order in the area. The police department have been closing off business parking lots and posting temporary no parking signs to control the activities. The results have been a large reduction in the amount of problems experienced during the weekends. Please see the attached memo from the police department. The Traffic and Safety Commission voted to agree with the police department in permanently installing the parking restrictions. Therefore, the Traffic and Safety Commission recommends that the village board review this request and act accordingly. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Was there any suggestions brought up at meeting of alternate ways of doing this besides closing the streets?
Well, they're not closed, they're just parking restrictions.
Correct, on Friday and Saturday, which would basically close those streets off from 7 to 2 a.m. on
No, the
that
streets
day.
are open.
But basically for parking I mean, we as a board have been trying to assist the businesses on Villa Avenue, trying to find more parking for them. Now we've got a business on North Avenue that we're removing some of the street parking,
Right.
which would restrict his flow of business
Right.
there.
He's a
kind of-
problem business. We have trouble with, based on the police reports and what I've been hearing here for 5 years, an owner of a business who doesn't control his crowd, doesn't control the people who come, who pack that place full, blares music till 2 o'clock in the morning to the neighboring residents, who defecate on the neighboring property, and who, God knows what else is going on those properties, on that property. It's a mess.
Mr. President?
In the past, he had a liquor license, and we were able to control it somewhat with a liquor license, but he doesn't have a liquor license anymore. So we have no way of controlling it, so we're doing the best we can to bring some order to that area, so they don't have using North Avenue as a drag strip, which they had this weekend. But we don't pursue them if they don't stop, and it takes a lot of our police department on Saturday and Friday nights, when they should be out in other parts around town, and they're having to put all our resources up there on North Avenue at Stratz. So that's why this is going in. We're gonna try to calm that area down. So, sorry. I've just been hearing about this place for as long as I've been on this board, and running out of options.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Yeah, it comes down to safety. You know what, they're trying to stop everybody crossing North Avenue, so that's the best solution right now.
Trustee Cielo?
Is the way the current conditions are with our police department, is there a fee attached for our services to basically babysit this troubled business? Or is it just offered up as our service, our resources, just to try to control it for safety?
They pay their taxes, so they're entitled to the police service. When he had a liquor license, we required him to have some private security or pay some of our officers for being there. But if I remember right, that we were never paid, never reimbursed for it. So,
Good enough for me?
Trustee Kazone?
Do we have any idea, once we close this parking area, where these patrons will start parking? Is this just going to expand outward, or do you think this will be enough to curb the patronage at the place?
We hope to go somewhere else. What's going to happen, we really don't know, so. But there isn't that much more areas around there to park. It doesn't affect, those are all commercial businesses down on Ellsworth and Adele, which are closed. So it doesn't affect the businesses down there. There's no other businesses in that area, so.
If I'm understanding you correctly, we have tried alternative motions to try to correct this problem with the owner, with Stratz.
Yes.
So we have tried several different ways in the last 5 years to do something else.
It's more than
It's come-
5, yes.
Okay, it's just come to
So we have
this
no
point.
cooperation,
Okay.
so. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to item 11. Resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, authorizing a contract with A-Lamp Concrete Contractors at Schaumburg, Illinois for the 2018 ADA Sidewalk Improvement Project in the amount not to exceed $85,200. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Ron. Staff proposes the replacement of substandard sidewalk at various intersections throughout the village as a part of the 2018 ADA Sidewalk Improvement Project. As a part of the update to the village's American with Disabilities Act, also known as the ADA Transition Plan, for public rights-of-ways, a significant amount of sidewalk improvements were identified. The purpose of the program is to replace sidewalk which does not meet current ADA requirements, primarily at intersections. Staff recommends approving a contract with A-Lamp Contractors for the 2018 ADA Sidewalk Improvement Project in an amount not to exceed $85,220. There's $50,000 budgeted for the ADA sidewalk improvements in account number 64-502-10-299 in the Capital Projects Fund in this fiscal year, and an additional $50,000 is proposed in the same account for stub year 18. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Zone?
Mr. President, I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second? Trustee Wagner,
I'll second that motion.
any questions or comments? Trustee Ciala.
Are there gonna be followed guidelines as far as construction routes, truck traffic, the cleanliness of these projects along all these streets during the time of this construction?
I think Venus would like to.
Trustee, Director Juskelos.
And I'm guessing I want to say enforceable, not just written down, enforced.
Most of the locations will be around Lincoln Avenue, so we'll be able to contain them fairly well. And the flat work's a moving operation. It's basically a one-day breakout and then another crew follows by with the concrete. So it's not like your typical utility construction where they're there for a prolonged period of time. So it's relatively short period. So the biggest concern would be, of course, the concrete trucks, because there's not going to be a lot of hauling away because it's just the broken concrete. So it should not be too difficult to make sure they adhere to everything that's required.
Barricading, closing down sidewalks with signs.
That's correct.
Making people aware that there's a hazard ahead and whatnot.
That's correct.
Is most of this going to be on the northwest part of town? you said?
Yes, these locations are primarily on Lincoln between Roy and Vermont.
All right. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, thank you. And I'll have a roll call on that.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Ciala?
No,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
no,
Okay. Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes. Item 12, resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving supplement number 1 to the construction engineering service agreement with Clark Dietz Incorporated for Phase 3 construction engineering services for the High Ridge Road resurfacing project. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. The village is receiving federal surface transportation program funding for 75% of the construction and construction engineering costs of the High Ridge Road resurfacing project. The village previously entered into an engineering services agreement with Clark Dietz Inc. of Elmhurst, Illinois for Phase 3 construction engineering services for the project. Construction of the project is now complete and village staff wishes to reallocate $4,350 of unused funds in the original engineering services agreement. This reallocation would allow the village to seek reimbursement of 75% of the reallocated amount, or $3,262.50, and maximize the village's reimbursement for these services under the STP program. Thank you, Ron.
Do we have a motion for a resolution? Trustee Kazone.
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second? Trustee Wagner.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Ciala?
yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee, who did I miss here? Yes, Kazone?
Yes.
And President Bolfus? Thank
Yes.
you.
Item 13, public comments on non-agenda items. So now's the time if anybody, do we have anybody signed up?
I do. Tom King signed up.
I'm Tom King, and I'm representing the Save Lufkin Group. The Save Lufkin Group has been working on obtaining information to determine our next course of action. We have met with 2 village trustees, had a phone call with another, and are setting up a meeting with the other 2 trustees. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us. In the trustee meetings, we are discussing options for and clarifying what would be required for our group to save Lufkin Pool. We've been conducting research about options for the group in order to set up a path for our group to take in donations that would offer a tax deduction to donors. Most of our recent research indicates that partnering with another not-for-profit who would act as our fiscal agent may be the best option going forward. Additionally, we're exploring options for partnering with another town or village in order to save Lufkin Pool. We're pleased that one of our members was appointed to the Parks and Rec Commission. And lastly, we've been discussing the future of our group and what we want to accomplish. An announcement about our group's future will be going out in the next couple weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else signed up?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else? Feel free. Again, please state your name.
Sign in.
Yes, is there a pen up there? If you could sign your name up there so we get your name right.
My name is Bill Conroy, and I live at 1011 South Rand. So I actually back up to the pool. So I just was coming to the meeting to find out what the plans are for the space. Is really my question.
You want to tell me what you've done up there so far? And, we're kind of on hold on the plans because the board voted to table the demolition of the pool until November. I think it was the first meeting in November. In the meantime, we've done some security issues up there. Manager Kinnear will fill us in on that, so if you would.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, one of the concerns is safety, and in particular at the pool, we have concerns that during the period of its non-being operational, the water will gather in the concrete basin, and if someone were to get in, it could be difficult for them to get out of the deep end. And so we have mounted or used a pump that will continually pump the water out. We'll have to plug it in, obviously, but we'll pump the water out on a regular basis. We've installed 2 ladders, one vertical in the deep end and one almost horizontal. That way, if a young child gets into the deep end and it's a little algae or a little slimy, that they can hopefully move to the ladder and climb out either vertically or horizontally. We've installed 1 security camera, some extra security lights, and are moving forward in that respect, Your Honor, along with additional police patrols for the area. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Please state your name. I see you have a pen. If you write up, so make sure we get the spelling correct.
Donna Knoxon, N-O-X-O-N, same forward and backwards, upside down or reversed. I attended the coffee with the board this past weekend, wanting an update as far as what was going on with the In Motion. And they told me about the Save Lufkin group, and that basically it was going to be their responsibility to get that $200,000. My question was, if I were to donate that money, is it a guarantee that it's going to go to the pool? Or does this item have to be voted on again?
The item would have to be voted on again.
Okay.
So, and the way it is right now, you should contact the Save Lufkin group if you wanted to donate, but they still have to get set up with their 501c3 if I'm right.
So if there was enough money in a 501c3, it would still have to be approved by the board?
Yes.
Okay, that's where I wasn't answered the question on Saturday.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Okay. So seeing none, we'll move on to the clerk's report.
I only have one thing from the Senior Concerns Commission. They're looking for nominations for Senior of the Year. And that's, we would like the residents to send something in, can come to the clerk's attention, to the commission's attention, and they will then decide from the number of votes that someone gets or nominations, and then announce them at the senior fair on May 10th. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustees report. We'll start on my right with Sia.
I'd just like to put a reminder out there. Easter Seals of DuPage, Fox Valley region is having their 15th annual Run for the Kids Superhero Hustle, May 5th. It benefits the family and the children of the community and also the facility. There is a 7:30 to 8:45 a.m. registration and check-in, and a 9 a.m. start time. You could either run or you can walk 2 miles. And again, that's May 5th, coming up soon. Hopefully we have nice weather. It's a good time. A lot of families, kids dress up as superheroes, and very enjoyable. That's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Kazone?
No report time.
Trustee Case?
No report.
Trustee Wagner?
Thank you, President Boltz. Just a couple things. The Traffic and Safety Commission will be meeting here at Village Hall tomorrow at 8 p.m. And they're looking for some commissioners, so if anyone's interested, please contact President Bolfus. Just wanted to thank you for reminding me about this. The annual stream sweep will be held on Saturday, May 19th, and typically we concentrate our efforts either around Cricket Creek or around the periphery of the Odium. And if folks are interested, they can go to the Conservation Foundation website, and you can kind of get hooked up with a liaison. It's typically goes from 9 a.m. to noon. And something also I want to let residents know about, the Villa Park Library is going to be migrating to a new consortium. For many, many years, they're part of Link, and I think Link had, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 12 libraries, and when you go to search for materials, you would search through not just our collection, but those other library collections. They're going to a new library consortium called SWAN, and there are 97 members to that consortium. So dramatic increase to the amount of materials that are available. And of course, there's interlibrary loan, which is handled by Rails, the library system. So great news for our community that we'll have a lot more access to more materials. And also want to let folks know that if you're interested, Friends of the Library will be meeting on Wednesday, April 11th, from 7 to 9 p.m. This is their annual general meeting. And the District 45 PTA Council will be holding a 5K run on Saturday, April 21st, at the gazebo. The run starts at 8 p.m. You can do same-day registration. It's $25, and it benefits the PTA. And lastly, just want to let folks know that the annual town meeting will be held tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. at 1502 South Myers Road. Township government likes to say it's a shining example of direct democracy. So if you want to find out what township government does or what it doesn't do, if you're a York Township resident and you're a registered voter, you can go attend that meeting and participate. So once again, 7:30 p.m., 1502 South Myers Road, in the large meeting room. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Tucker.
I just want to remind people, tomorrow night, Park and Rec will be having their monthly meeting at 7 o'clock at Iowa Center.
Thank you. The President's report. Well, I'm sure you all got in your mail, your water bill, if you get it mailed to you, about the 8 and 28 event that's going to be in Villa Park. And I asked Director Viola to come up and give us a little update on 8 and 28.
Hi, thanks for having me. As you all know, Money Magazine identified Villa Park as the 8th best place in America to raise a family and the 28th best place in America to live. So with that, we're throwing a celebration. So you did get something like this in your mail, your water bill. It's Saturday, April 28th at 5 till 7 at the Odium Expo on North Villa. It'll include music from the various schools, District 45, 48, 88, Islamic school dancers, Mayor Irish dancers. Also, the schools are having an art contest, and the children have been encouraged to share what is great about Villa Park, and we'll be having awards presented that evening. The library is going to present children's arts and crafts tables. So it is intended to be a family event. There'll be local food vendors, including Papa Dogs, Michael Anthony's, Firehouse Subs, and the desserts from the local churches. And we'll have Cash Bar, and More Brewing is having a beer tasting, free beer tasting in a garden there. They'll have a photo booth, and from 7 to 9:30, there's dueling pianos, Mick Archer's dueling pianos. So tickets are only $8 per person. You can buy them online at celebrate8and28.com. So we have a family rates for $28 for 4 people, or you can buy a table for $56. So come out on Saturday, April 28th to enjoy an evening of celebration of Villa Park.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your work on that. And I understand that dueling pianos, Trustee Cazone tells me that's pretty good. It's worth seeing that. So, yeah, enjoy and help us all. Please come out, help us celebrate Villa Park. So that's what we'll be doing. So, and the other thing I had is I noticed that our community development director, Patrick Grill, has been serving on the DuPage County Development Commission, and recently he was elected chairman of the executive committee, if I've got that right. And I asked him to come up and tell us a little bit about what that commission does and what his responsibilities are. Because that was the first I heard about it, Patrick. I'm sorry.
I have served on the DuPage County Community Development Commission since my tenure began here in Villa Park, but I also served on it in another community, and I've been sitting on it for probably 10 or 12 years. But just last week, I was elected chairman of the executive committee. The Development Commission itself encompasses every community in DuPage County and every county board member. But in order to move things along, they have an executive committee, which is made up of 6 municipal members and 6 county board members. And the chairmanship rotates each year between a county board member and a municipal member. But this is the first time that I've been chairman of this commission. But basically what this commission does is it hears all of the applications for HUD and CDBG funding in DuPage County and makes a recommendation on those applications to the county board. Things that benefit Villa Park in particular are CDBG funds that allow us to rebuild our roads and sewers, public infrastructure projects, but it also funds not-for-profits like UCP Seguin came through the Community Development Commission and ultimately ended up getting approved by the county board. And then Ray Graham offers the Housing Advisory Group that the executive DuPage County Development Commission also oversees HUD funding. And we have Ray Graham in our community, and they fund some of their housing projects, not only here, but obviously throughout DuPage County. So for the next 12 months, I'll be serving as the chairman of that commission, and you can bet that I'll be making sure that Villa Park's projects are known to the rest of the commission and keep us in the forefront.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a good idea that the community becomes aware about our staff not just working here in the village, but they also reach out to the countywide. Maybe in the future we'll get some other staff members up here to tell us how they're involved in DuCom comes right off the top of my head. I'm looking at the chief over there and both of them. So, it's kind of nice to let everybody know that we're involved more than just right here in Villa Park. We're reaching out to the whole neighboring communities, to the county, so they know we're here. So, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for your work, and we'll move on to the manager's report.
Well, thank you, Your Honor. Just have a couple of items. Since we had some snowfall today, I thought I would update everybody on how many events we've had and how many tons of salt we've used. So far this winter season or / spring, we've had 20 events and used about 586 tons of salt for 32 inches of snow and ice. And with the cold weather and the warm weather, certain things happen in the soil and shifting, and And sometimes with that shifting, there's water main breaks. So far, since December 12th, we've had 10 water main breaks. And Your Honor,
That's pretty good.
I hope we can make it through the rest of this winter, spring season without additional breaks. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I remember 10 years ago, we had a lot more than that, so. Okay, with that, we'll move on to item number 18, and that's executive session for 5 ILCS 120/2C1, personnel matters, C2, collective bargaining matters, C5, purchase and lease of property, C6, sale and lease of property, C11, pending litigation, and C21, discussion on closed session minutes. Do I have a motion for executive session? Trustee Wagner.
I'd like to make that motion.
Do I have a second? Trustee Kazone.
I'll make that motion. Second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and with that, we'll go into executive session. We will not be coming back. Our next board meeting is on April 23rd, and we will be here at 7 o'clock. See you in 2 weeks.